Hello everybody, it's Vinyl Rich here with vinyl video number 27. I have a few records here that I had bought in January and a couple that I just bought this past weekend. This first one was a sealed copy I bought online. It's a promo copy of John Cale, Paris 1919. This is my first John Cale. And it's got this little insert here that was covering the back part of the album. But this is the first John Cale I've ever really purchased, I've really heard. Put it on, the first song is like, man, this sounds, where have I heard this, you know? And kind of remind me of Eno. No, I don't know if he reminds me of Eno or Eno reminds me of him, whatever, you know. But it's a good album. Like I said before, it was sealed. Came with this insert, the lyrics. This is the inner sleeve, the Warner Brothers inner sleeve. And let me get the record real quick. It's a white label promo copy. Let me see, but side 2 had a scratch on it. Let me see if we can find that. Here it is. Gee, there. I know I could show it. There it is. You can see it right on the top. So, I mean, there's no way a sealed record is going to have a scratch like that. So I think this is a reseal. So I'm going to give the guy a bad review. I know he's going to claim, well, I didn't know, you know, whatever. But it's a good album. I've only heard it a couple times. I wouldn't say it's a great album. I know a lot of people consider this one of their best albums of all time. I wouldn't put it in that kind of a category. First impressions, there's too many songs where it's, you know, that ding 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 ding, you know, the piano. I mean, I could write that. Anyways, but it'd probably grow on me. I didn't really know what to expect. It's a good album. I'm glad to have it. It's kind of unfortunate. It pops. I mean, it's a good loud pop on the very first 15-20 seconds of side 2. Kind of sucks. Second one, this is a 1965 album. Mimi and Richard Farina, I believe. Now, Mimi was Joan Baez's sister, it turns out. And this is a really, here's a picture of him. Well, I got a lot of glare in this video. Bob Dylan gets all the credit for introducing the electric folk thing. But this album here, it was part of that introduction of the electric folk. It's got electric guitars, electric pianos, electric bass, but it's a lot more subtle than what Bob Dylan was doing. But this is a really good album. It's a folk album. It's a folk rock album. And this is a spectacular album. Apparently, Mimi died some kind of brain disease or blood disease. I don't know. I should have looked it up. But she died very young. And I think they only had 2 albums together. But this is a really good album. Highly recommend it. If you do like folk, that 60s folk, which I'm starting to get into, I highly recommend this album. And it's on the Vanguard. This is it's on the Vanguard label. That's the label, and this is the inner sleeve. Very good album. This is a 1966 album. King Curtis, Live at Small's Paradise. This is a really cool, groovy, really good album. It's just jamming, funky. I don't know if you call it jazz or not, but it's a good album. I have one of his studio albums that I bought. I showed it maybe 6 months ago. This is a live one, and I'm probably done, with this guy. That's all I probably need. It's a good album. It's a real funky, dirty, just I don't know. You can tell it was a good time in that club that night. Let's put it that way. This is the original inner sleeve, and this is on the Atco label. Very good album. Next one, I believe this is Country Joe and the Fish's third album. It's a gatefold. I guess this is Joe McDonald, is that his name? Yeah. I guess this is his wedding, picture from his wedding. I had this album back in the 70s, early 70s. And the reason I bought it, because it has the first song on side one is that Rock and Soul Music, which is a very good song, and it's probably the best song on the album. It's got some other good songs. It's got some others that aren't that great. I read an interview with Joe McDonald, and he was kind of complaining that they had to rush the albums, and I guess the first one came out, the second one right after, and then they were felt compelled to put out the third album by the record company, and they, I guess he said that, as a result, some of the songwriting kind of suffered, but it's a hole punch, and I mean, come on, if you're gonna make a hole punch, do a good job of it. That's a crappy destruction of a record. But as I was saying, he felt like some of the songwriting on this suffered, or the songwriting suffered because of they were rushed. And out of all the 60s San Francisco bands, these are one of my least favorite. I mean, their first two albums, they're good, and if I run across them, I'll get them. But they're not. I don't think they're in the same caliber as the Grateful Dead or Jefferson Airplane or even Quicksilver Messenger Service, And it's on Vanguard, the Vanguard label. To me, they're a little bit overrated. I mean, Joe McDonald, he claims that they made the first psychedelic album in history, which I don't know. But I don't dislike them, but to me, they're not on the same tier as a Jefferson Airplane by any means. Next album, this is Led Zeppelin, In Through the Outdoor. This is the paper bag that it came in. This album doesn't get a lot of love, and it's probably my least, besides Coda, my least favorite of the Led Zeppelin albums. But I ran across this original first press, and this is the version F. I guess they had versions A through F, and they all had different covers. So I'm gonna collect them all. No, I'm not. This is enough for me. It's a good album. I mean, it has a lot of people don't like this because of the synthesizers, but I mean, I don't have. Before this album, I probably have maybe 3 Led Zeppelin albums. I think I have Led Zeppelin 2. That's a reissue where the cover is real slick. Probably came out in the late 70s or 80s reissue. I have an original Physical Graffiti, and I have Houses of the Holy. So, I mean, I will buy the Led Zeppelin albums as I find them. I mean, at a reasonable price. Led Zeppelin, this is the label. They don't get mentioned a lot in the VC. I'm finding. In fact, recently, I don't know if any of you saw the video Metal Obsession. It was, I guess you could call it a documentary film that some of the VC guys, I think Corey put it together, did a really good job editing it. I mean, really good. And I must say that the background music by Ultimatum, that really fit the video very well too. It was very well done. Now, I think it could have been better. I would have liked to have seen maybe more of certain people and less of others. I definitely would have liked to have seen more of the Metal Theologian. I mean, his take on music and his stories and just the way he talks, and I mean, he's so real. I would have liked to have seen more of him, even more Corey, and less of people just naming out bands like Kiss, Twisted Sister. I mean, I didn't need to hear 15 different guys listing bands that, I don't know, I'm not the biggest fans of. But anyway, that's a minor complaint. I thought it was very well done. I enjoyed it. Sometime, I gave it a thumbs up. I may revisit it in the future. But I did enjoy it. It was well done. And I have seen some people complaining about it. And what I have to say to them is, you know, you make one. You get some people that you think are like-minded, have like-minded taste as you, and you make your own video, you know. But I have no complaints about it. I thought it was very well done. Now, one thing, let me just show this out. This is Dr. No, Wreckage and Flesh. Now, this definitely has heavy metal leanings. In fact, I guess you would call it a heavy metal. This was a punk band, started in the early 80s in the LA area. I'm not exactly sure where they're from. Oh, it has an insert picture of the band. And this band here, they get no love from the metal. I don't think I've ever heard any metal person mention this band. And another one I put in this same category as this band is English Dogs. I mean, you constantly, I mean, even in the media, you hear the mention of the big four: Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer. What's the other one? It starts with an A, doesn't it? Whatever. Brain fart. Anyways, this band is along with English Dogs are just as good, and in my opinion, better than 3 of the 4 bands. And they were doing it before 3 of the 4 bands. I mean, they were doing this shit in '83. That thrash metal is what they call it now. It's basically hardcore punk with guitar solos, in my opinion. Thrash metal. But people, metalheads, they won't acknowledge that. It doesn't. Some will. I've heard some. I've heard even Scott Waters, you know, mention that Iron Maiden, you can tell the punk influence on their first couple of albums. And it's on Death Records, which I think was a division of Metal Blade. It's a good album. I mean, it isn't their best album, but I didn't have this one, and it's one band that I really like a lot, and I wanted to complete I think they have a couple of records that I don't have by them. But anyways, that's my Dr. No rant. 2 more to show. This one here, this is another album that doesn't get a lot of love. It's a promo copy. And it's the US version of the Clash's debut album. Came out in 1979, almost 2 years after it came out in England. And this is the original inner sleeve. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that it came out so late, but it's a good album. I mean, they're both good albums. The English version and the US version they're both very good albums. And I have both of them on CD. And it's absolutely ridiculous that Epic Records or whoever owns the rights to them can't put the songs of both of the US and the UK version and put it on one CD. I mean, come on. I shouldn't have to buy 2 CDs to get all the songs. But yeah, I like this album. I'm not going to say I like it as much as the UK version. I don't. But it's a great album. It is. And it is a promo, and it's a white label promo. That's why I got it. I mean, I already do have this album, but I saw that, and it was like $20. I thought, you know what, I'm going to get it. Now this next one is the one I'm really excited to get, and that's Suicide. This is the Canadian first press. I believe this album came out the end of 1977, and this version came out in, this is the cover of the original US version, I believe. And the US one, like I said, came out in 77. This came out in early 78. And it does have an extra song on here, I Remember. Includes bonus collector's track, I Remember. And this is good for me. Good. I mean, I'm good with the first press Canadian, you know. That's good enough for me. This album here, this is some crazy shit. It's real sparse, electronic, 2 guys. It's electronic, a lot of analog synthesizers and vocals. And this band here, I believe this is the first band that ever referred to their music as punk. There's interviews with these guys like in 72, early 70s at least, and they're referring to their music as punk music. And they were, I believe they saw the Stooges live, and that's where they adopted their kind of stance. It was confrontational. They were kind of confrontational towards the audience in their concerts, and as a result, the audiences didn't really love them that much. And it's a good album. I'm glad to have this album. A U.S. first press would have been cool, but you know what? That's good enough for me. If I find a U.S. first press, I'm not going to buy it unless it's absolutely ridiculously cheap. And this is the label. It's on Basement Records. Very good record. It's not for everybody. It's pretty harsh, but this is semi-grill for me. I really like this album. And I'll end it on that. Hope everybody's doing good. And take care, everybody. I'll be seeing you in about a week. That's a promise.